not, you will hear a new homeowner cribbing bitterly about some aspect of the construction of the apartment, if not the outside, then interiors, or simply the quality of fittings in a product he or she has put his or her life savings into. For those who have travelled abroad, the contrast is sometimes even more stark. Why is India's real estate industry not able to match international construction quality? There are always a few exceptions, and there are in real estate as well, but very few. The answer, most industry veterans and experts say, lies in the quality of manpower. So today on the Realty Debate, we find out what are the big gaps in an industry which is amongst the largest employers of manpower in the country, second only to agriculture, and what needs to be done to fulfill that gap. On my show today, Shrikant Joshi, CEO of L&T Realty. Mr. Joshi, thank you very much for making the time to join us. Also with us, Cyrus Engineer, Senior Vice President, Sales and Marketing, Shapurji Palanji Real Estate. Thank you very much for joining me. Sachin Sandhir, MD, South Asia RICS. Sumit Jha, Director and CEO, Nirem Institute of Real Estate Management. Dilip Shenoy, MD and CEO of National Skill Development Council, make up for the team from the capital, Delhi. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Okay, before we start the Q&A session, the sector potential. Now, just 2 or 3 key factors to show how big real estate is and why it needs so much attention when it comes to providing the right manpower. KPMG says 11 crore houses will be required by 2022. That's at a rate of about 35,000 homes or flats or apartments, villas, call them anything, with an investment of $2 trillion. An estimated demand of 76.5 million workers will be there in the building, construction, infrastructure and real estate. So, no one has real estate separately, but it is very similar manpower. So, the need is a number of that large. The magnitude, just imagine 76.5 million workers. Affordable housing, which is the key agenda of the Modi government, is supposed to be the key job creator, would need 38 million strong workforce by 2030. So, those are some of the figures which actually tell us why we need to talk about this topic. Now, 2 areas of gap in construction today. There's a pool of skilled manpower which is missing, like civil engineers, project managers, architects, and the list is long. And then there is a huge pool of labor which is required, which has to be semi-skilled. Let's start with what really delays your and my projects, or actually projects across the country, which is labor shortage. That sometimes reaches a proportion, or let's say a crisis proportion. Shrikant Joshi, am I wrong in saying that today one of the biggest things, there is one problem which is a single window clearance, and the second problem which is a labor shortage, and perhaps both these are equally terrible for the sector as a whole?
Manisha, you are very right, and the topic is very apt. While there may not be the number-wise labor shortage, but there is certainly the skilled labor shortage. And this shows in the quality of finishing, the quality of sites, safety, security, all across the place. If you really see what happens abroad, the trades are so important and they are valued. The trades are valued. People may just do a painting course, they may just do a tiling course, they may just do a plumbing course. And there is a lot of dignity given to these trades, and people can make a living through that, through this dignity which we talk about. In India, our Prime Minister is also talking about skilling the country. We need lots of these trades at the worker level to happen, where they can get a reasonable living, and it is not migratory in nature. Today, a lot of labor is very migratory. Come Holi and they all go back home. Come Diwali, they all go back home. So there are two big issues here, Manisha. One, the permanency of the labor, and second, the skill set of the labor. Both present a huge challenge which you yourself mentioned, and we need to do that for about 11 crore workers, which is a big challenge facing it.
All right, so let's delve a little bit on why are these problems there? Why does labor remain migratory? Sachin Sandhir, the reason is that where is labor going to stay? The development is happening in urban areas, even if you bring them in. So we will first deal with that aspect. How do you have a more permanent labor or worker in projects? How do you achieve that? Because he still continues to stay with very poor living conditions and has no space to make a big city like Delhi or Mumbai a permanent home.
I think the challenge is not just of where they stay, but it's also the fact that the certainty of wanting to be in a tough sector. So I think that is a big challenge. Then, of course, there is really no mechanism for them to actually be certified and for employers to value that certification. So those are some challenges, and people, that deter some of these laborers to actually come and work in this sector. So I think that these factors, the fact that one, employers are not demanding certified workforce, which basically makes them want to actually come and work in this sector, and the certainty of earning a good livelihood.
Cyrus Engineer, is that true? I mean, is it that the demand itself is a little weak? Nobody is asking for certification, and therefore the large contractors, if I ask the developers, why don't you invest in actually skilling the workers? They turn around and say, but that's not our job. We actually hire contractors like Shapoorji Pallonji and L&T, though I know that you represent a different part of their business, but we hire contractors and they're the ones who are supposed to skill the labor. Is that correct?
Well, to answer your question honestly, I can say that as Shapoorji Pallonji has entered its 150th year of existence this year as we speak, a lot has been done by us specifically in terms of alleviating the conditions of our labor force, in terms of imparting training to them, in terms of adhering to certain quality standards for the industry, etc. But coming back to Mr. Joshi's point, and to which something Sachin alluded to as well, there is clearly a paucity of skilled labor right now, which is probably being propagated by the fact that many of these states in the last couple of years have undergone substantive economic reforms. It's not as attractive for workers to come out and kind of work on a hot day's labor wage as it is to be back in their home states doing agriculture, etc. as well. So clearly there is a mismatch in terms of demand and supply. Developers and contractors can only request for skilled labor if there are adequate number of institutes. In the last couple of years now, we've been seeing certain reforms in this particular sector, but we have a long way to go forward.
Okay, so are you referring to MNREGA, because that's again a huge issue that we are talking about, and Sumit, come in here. I mean, you have a perspective of the entire labor shortage issues, or basically the not having the right skills much more. Do you think that it is MNREGA? I keep hearing this, that because of MNREGA they're guaranteed 100 days of employment, they're not at least incentivized or enthused enough to come and do hard work at construction sites. How true is that myth?
No, that's exactly true, because everybody looks at income certainty. If MNREGA is giving them 100 days of work, confirmed work, and therefore the income every year, then even I'll prefer that instead of an uncertain income opportunity. So that's definitely one of the most important criteria today. Giving that, unless you make your construction jobs more attractive, nobody will come from a confirmed job which is they are getting for 100 days in a year.
Okay, Dilip Shenoy, would you agree with that? What I've heard is MNREGA, agriculture, economic reforms, and therefore not incentivized enough to come, not enough wages. Internationally, people like to do a plumbing job or a tiling job or a paint job and take enough pride in it. We don't do that, not enough institutes to skill labor. So what is it? I mean, are there 3 or 4 key things that the government needs to take care of and focus on?
Thank you, Manisha. I think the number one issue here is the structure of the industry. You know, we have L&T and Shapoorji Pallonji on the show, and we have if they were to employ people directly, you would have a queue of people queuing up outside them to work with them. But the way the industry is structured is that they offload these construction to contractors, who then have subcontractors who have subcontractors. So the way it actually operates is that the normal plumber or electrician ends up working with a subcontractor and doesn't see a career pathway ahead of him or her. So the challenge is that we need to actually address the structure of the industry and make it in a manner that the person gets rewarded for productivity. In the last few years, you are seeing significant change happen, and this is happening in a variety of ways. For the first time, we've actually mapped through the Construction Sector Skill Council, which is which actually was initially going to be led by Mr. Cyrus Mistry of Shapurji Palanji before he went and took over Tata's, but now is led by Ajit Gulabchand. They're saying that do we have a career map for construction workers? How can a helper, a brick carrier, become a contractor? So these pathways have actually been created. And also the second thing which has been done is standards have been created for various job roles, whether it is in the construction space or the infrastructure equipment space or the plumbing space. And what we are finding on the ground is that those employers or those agencies that insist on quality of work and focus on the quality of work get the desired results. If the agency that is building the building or is the owner of the building and is the prime constructor of the building, if they don't focus on it, then it just goes down to the lowest common denominator.
All right. So what
lot
I'm
of people
hearing
may
is
say
that
there are not
perhaps
enough
there's a
training
lack of
institutions.
pull factor as well. Perhaps the developer community itself is not demanding excellence. Sachin Sandhir, is that correct? Because
Absolute-
wherever they're demanding, contractors are forced to provide certified labor. The labor may be costlier, should be costlier if it's trained. Why do we have such a big gap between white collar and blue collared work? I mean, that's the basic reason why people don't want to get into blue collared work.
Absolutely. So I guess, I'll give you the international perspective just to kind of put things in context. RICS accredits close to 600 university programs around the world in real estate and construction. And this is really focused on professional skills. So yes, we are talking about vocational skills, but I'm talking about even professional skills. We accredit close to 600 university programs around the world, which means that there is such a focus on real estate and construction education because the industry demands that they will hire only qualified people who have relevant skills in real estate and construction. Similarly, there are professional bodies that provide professional qualifications. There are professional bodies that provide vocational qualifications. We focus on professional skills, so we will focus on skills like project management, quantity surveying. There is City and Guilds, for example, who will focus on some of the vocational skills. But what I'm trying to state is that there is a completely, like Dilip pointed out, there is an absolute structure that has been set up internationally that employers demand people with vocational or professional qualifications, and then that's set up a pretty much a career pathway that links up and provides people the certainty of growth. And that's really how it is set up internationally. But coming to India, I think not enough employers are demanding it. There are the examples of L&T and Shapurji. They're obviously doing a fantastic job in terms of making sure that they are demanding people with certain skills. There are other contractors also who are demanding this. But I think more developers need to come forward and start asking for people with professional skills and specific vocational qualifications to ensure that people see real estate and construction as a career of choice. The fact is that we've set up a school in India, and the fact is also that it's still not seen, real estate is still not seen as a career of choice, and it won't be seen as a career of choice till developers are demanding it, till they start specifying within contracts that they will hire people with certain skills. They start demanding those skills of contractors. Unless that cycle starts getting completed, this industry will not be a career of choice. Until it becomes a career of choice, it will not become professional like we want it to be.
Okay, Sumit, you have a point?
Yeah, I'll add a few points. We are coming down to basically 3 points. First is value addition gained through these certifications. Are the candidates getting any value addition
What
in
is
terms
the
of
quality that is being
Yes.
provided?
Now, quality in terms of productivity, quality in terms of enhancement in income. These are the two value addition I'm talking.
Absolutely.
Second is your value given to these certificates by employers. Say, let's say developers, are they asking for these certificates or they are taking any candidate who comes to them? Do they prefer candidates who are coming up with these certificates, or are they certified? Are they not satisfied? Are they checking these things? Third, job security. Certificate is there, value addition is there, but are you providing them job security? Are you giving them a contract job of 11 months? Are you giving them a contract job of 6 months? Or are you employing them forever, permanent?
I think, Sumit, you've raised very important points. Shrikant Joshi, come in here. What is happening? What is the industry practice? Sure, both of you, whether Shapurji Palanji or L&T, represents perhaps the top of the ladder. But industry-wise, how much is this valued? And are these three things being addressed? I mean, does a skilled labor get a better growth, both in income and career? And what is the kind of job security that the industry provides him or her?
Well, Manisha, let me reassure you, both Shapurji and us, we invest enormously in training. We have our own training institutes for these trades. And the reason we do that is we don't get skilled manpower. Now, also being the largest contractor in the country, we have continuous jobs and we are growing every year. So there is no dearth of job continuity, what we talk about. However, there is a structure of the industry. The structure of the industry worldwide also is contracting. If you are a MEP contractor, it's possible for you to get a plumbing job 12 months a year. That you do not get when you are stuck to one developer.
Okay.
Which is why the structure in most manufacturing today is contracting across the world. Boeing doesn't manufacture every Boeing part for its own self. The point here is the developer community. This industry is still in a nascent stage. To my mind, now only the organized players are coming into this industry.
Okay.
For historical reason, anybody with a piece of land thought he could be a developer.
Right.
There is no entry cost, there is no exit cost, and you see the number of developers we have in the country. It is now in the last 2 years when the customers are looking for safety, they are looking for finishes, they are looking for on-time delivery, and forcing a set of developers and others to match up to those standards.
Right.
More of this, when it starts to happen, it will force the industry to become more and more organized. I think we are on our way. In the next few years, you will see a big push towards this side.
Okay, fair enough. The one more question before we go on to the other pool of manpower, which is of course higher end. Cyrus Engineer, a lot of developers think it's a great CSR event or actually spending to provide some decent living accommodation at the site, a small creche. Is this really CSR to provide the basic to the labor or the contract worker which is on your site? What will it take for the developer to change that mindset? It bugs me every time I hear a developer saying, we are doing such great CSR, we are giving them a creche, we are giving them a makeshift school, and we are actually providing a medical, or 2 doctors come and check them every weekend. What is the mindset here?
The mindset, unfortunately, is one where there is disregard for human beings in general. I can say that it all depends in terms of what is your focus area. Today, as Mr. Joshi mentioned, that there are so many developers across. Anybody who has a piece of land feels that he can develop something. He's looking at exploiting and milking it for whatever it's worth. I think it's only in the last couple of years that national developers, national contractors have come to realize that investing in their skilled labor force actually is something which adds to the revenues at an overall level. So I completely agree with you. There is a paucity of thought process in this particular area, where people see providing a creche or a doctor on duty as a kind of CSR activity. I think most organized players in this segment look at it as a basic human hygiene factor, which is what we look at it as well. So I think we've got to go a long, long way in terms of our basic intrinsic recognition of our most core ingredient in this sector, which is our manpower base.
I think absolutely. I somewhere that whole attitude has to change, that we are doing them a favor by just giving those basic, like you said, human dignity living factors. Okay, construction industry, that was the labor or the worker part of it. The industry also needs 4 to 5 million skilled professionals such as planners, architects, surveyors, engineers, project managers, but has only 1 million. Now around, how do you get that pool of people, the professionals which the sector also requires by 2020? We'll come back and look at those aspects as well. Stay with us.